Hello and welcome, all of you gorgeous, beautiful, amazing souls. I am Natalie Schlute. I am your manifestation coach and your spirit guide channeler, and I'm so excited to be talking with you today about the difference between anxiety and intuition. This is a really big subject that I get all the time with my students, my coaching clients, because sometimes it's very difficult to decipher which is which. What's an actual warning coming from your intuition, your higher self, your soul, versus what's coming from something else, right? What's coming from a fear, a pattern, a subconscious programming, a neurological response in your body that's causing anxiety. And so, in this episode, we're going to cover a few things. First, we're going to talk about what anxiety is in the human body versus what intuition really is. You need to know what they are, where they come from, how they come about. Then we're going to be talking about how each of them are kind of similar and what the differences are and how they show up for you. I'm also going to be giving you some practical ideas for how to start deciphering which is which in your body and get yourself clear so that you can better navigate your life, heal some of that anxiety that's going on, and also be able to just tap into your intuition much more easily. So this is a really great episode. I'm so excited to share all of this with you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so that you get notified every time I have new episodes for you. I teach all about manifestation, intuition, channeling, psychic skills, but also just practical how to get your life together, how to move forward in your life, and all things manifestation. It's so much fun. I can't wait for you to check out all the amazing playlists that I have on my YouTube channel. So first, let's just start with the breakdown of what intuition is versus what anxiety is. Anxiety is a physical human pattern. In order to understand the difference between the two, you have to understand that the experience that you're having right now in your human body, is coming from two different sources. We have our physical body. That's the vessel, right? That's the airplane, the car, the thing that you're driving through life in is your physical body. And so often people identify themselves with their human body. I'm heavy, I'm thin, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm a brunette, I'm a blonde, whatever it is. You kind of identify with your physical body, but that's just half of you. That's just your physical self, your human self. And within this human self, we have an entire body that works in a really magnificent divine way, where we have organs, right? We have an autonomic nervous system. We have nerves that run through our skin, our bones, our organs, and down our spinal column. We have a brain that functions a certain way that sends signals back and forth through that nervous system. So we have the physical human part of ourselves, and that brain is really what's controlling our autonomic nervous system. So is our nerves. It's telling all of our organs what to do. It's telling us when to release certain hormones to raise our heart rate or drop our heart rate, when to be awake and when to go to sleep, when to be excited and energized and when to be tired. All of that is our physical human body. So when we understand things like anxiety, there are physical patterns that happen in our physical human body. They can happen coming from the mindset. They can happen coming from the physical nervous system. There can be toxins and things in your body that actually influence anxiety. You can also have some old repetitive thought patterns and belief systems that are creating anxiety too. So anxiety is coming from the physical human part of you. And when you understand the human part of you as a machine, as a body, as a system, as a nervous system, a biological machine, a brain that's reacting with your physical body, you understand that anxiety is a physical reaction. It's coming from the human self. Intuition, on the other hand, is the soul part of you. It's what gives you life. It's the eternal, energetic part of you. You as a soul are eternal. You live forever on a conscious level. And you came into this human body during conception or sometime before birth. You decided to attach. This is the human body that I'm going to be born into. This is the family that I'm going to be born into. And you connect into the physical. You connect into the human body, right? This is your vessel that you're living in this lifetime. And so the soul is always going. The soul has infinite wisdom. The soul has lived in many different bodies, many different lifetimes here on earth and in other realms, other dimensions of time and space reality. You also spend the majority of your time as a soul living in the spiritual world, living in the non-physical. We call the human plane, the human planet, and the body you're in right now, that is the physical world, that is the 3D. But there is also the non-physical world. That's the spiritual world, which is much bigger. It does not have the same rules of time, space, reality that the earth plane does. And so know that your soul has so much wisdom, so much experience, it's lived so many lifetimes. With that comes lessons that it has learned in the past, lessons that it is still learning, things that it's still holding on to from other lifetimes. But that soul part of you is also connected to everything. It's connected to everything on this physical plane, on this physical planet. It can tap into anything. That soul part of you can also connect to angels and spirit guides and other realms. It can connect to past lives and parallel lives and all dimensions of time and space. So that part of you is extremely wise. It has so much information, so much knowledge. It could tap into anything at any moment, practically, right? Within reason. And so when you understand that that soul part of you exists as something that's co-creating with your physical human body right now, we can now see that we have the soul part of us and then the human physical body part of us. And these two are working together in this time-space reality for you here on planet Earth. When we bring both of these parts together, it gives us life. It gives us the reality and the awareness that we have in this day and age. And understand that these two parts of you are always working together. They are always co-creating together. And when you have that awareness, suddenly you can begin to deduce, be a little bit of a detective and figure out, okay, so what's coming from the soul part of me? What's coming from that higher wisdom that knows so much more than the human part of me? The human part of you is the one that was a toddler, that grew up in elementary school, that went to middle school and high school and into your 20s and 30s and so forth. And that's the part of you that's really in the earth realm, and that has learned things in a linear fashion, that sees time as a linear thing. The sun rises, the sun sets, and day after day, month after month, year after year goes by, and you see yourself getting older in linear time. So the things that you've learned as a human is actually fairly limited, and it's a program of your personality that has been set and can be molded. It can be changed. Just like you can train a dog and you can train yourself to learn a musical instrument, you can also train your human self. You can train your mind and you can train your body to be something different than it currently is. You can evolve your mind. You can go and get higher education. You're educating yourself right here, right now by listening to this. And so that part of you is moldable and changeable, but that part of you also has a lot of old patterns. And so when your intuition comes in, it's coming through that soul self. It's coming through the energetic part of you that's connected to everything, that is very wise. And so that's where intuition comes in. It can give you warnings, which is why some people get confused, whether it's a warning that's coming in from your intuition saying, don't do this, break up with this person, you need to move, you need to get out of this situation, or hey, don't do that, something bad's going to happen. Intuition can come through and give you so-called warnings or moments of understanding that help guide you, because your soul self is always looking out for you. It is always protecting you. It is always doing its best to make sure that you are moving forward in life towards your manifestations, towards your greatest lessons, towards everything that you want to experience. But the human part of us, the part that is programmed in our mind from all the things we learned in school and through our parents and through social media and through TV and movies and all that kind of stuff, there's a part of our mind that's more of the human self that is learned from just this one lifetime, just this reality. Not all of it's true. Sometimes we learn things and we find out decades later or years later, hey, that wasn't actually true, right? If we think about the human realm, there was a time where we thought the world was flat, and it wasn't. It's circular. For thousands and thousands of years, humans thought the world was flat. And so there are a lot of things that your human mind, your human brain believe are true and actually aren't. It just believes is true because it came to a conclusion, or maybe it read it in a book, or it was taught to you, or it was an assumption that you picked up based off of something that you saw in your life. Maybe you saw a scenario play out with your parents or a scenario play out in your love life, and you made certain assumptions that if I do this, this is always going to happen. I saw my parents do this and this is what happened. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want that same result. That's just one example. There are probably thousands or maybe even millions of examples where someone else did the same thing and it was a different result. And so the human mind is very limited on its knowledge and wisdom. We always need to be questioning our own belief systems, our own thoughts, and how we see reality, how we see the world around us, how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we want to interact with the world. That gives us awareness so that we can change that human mind part of ourselves. So now that you understand these two parts, You understand that there is a soul self. You understand that there is a human programmed physical body going on as well. When intuition comes in, say a warning, it can be similar and different to anxiety. Anxiety is coming from a variety of places, and it's up to you to determine where this anxiety is coming from. If you have not heard of medical medium, Anthony William, he is one of my favorites. I follow him. I have all of his books. I've been working with his dietary recommendations to heal my body, my neurological system over the last few years. And, I've dealt with a lot of neurological anxiety, depression. I've dealt with a lot of emotional issues, emotional breakdowns over the years, a lot of physical aches and pains, chronic pain, migraines, and so forth. So I've struggled a lot with my human body, with the physical things going on. I've struggled a lot with my mindset, and that's why I do what I do now, is because I have spent decades healing myself, healing my physical body, healing my mental and emotional body. And then that led me to opening up psychically and healing more of my spiritual body and tapping into that. So I've gone through all these layers over the years, and it's this never ending, beautiful process that I absolutely love. And I love sharing and teaching what I'm learning. And that is why I do what I do, because I want to help you through all the things that I've learned and grown from. So back to Anthony William. He's got a new book out that just came out this fall of 2022 called Brain Saver. And then there's a companion book called Brain Saver Protocol. This book is all about what's going on in the brain, about anxiety, OCD, depression, any kind of mental disorders you can imagine, plus all the physical stuff going on. He talks deeply about how things like toxins, heavy metals in the body, viral loads can all influence our mental and emotional body. It can influence anxiety. It can actually create OCD patterns. It can create that obsessive compulsive thinking, because we are overloaded with toxins. We are overloaded with heavy metals, particularly in the brain. And they are so microscopically small that they actually can't be seen with a microscope. These are things that we picked up in our food system, in our water. It's coming from our air. It's in the dirt. It's everywhere. It's in our homes. It's in the chemicals that we use. And it's kind of unavoidable, right? Even all of our cooking utensils in our kitchen, there are metals on there, and little pieces sometimes break off. We're constantly being bombarded, and it's important to clear out the body, because what happens is things that cause anxiety and OCD, some of those things, is actually the interference of the brain neurons trying to respond to each other. So if you can imagine your brain, and something needs to go from the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere in order to connect a thought, in order for you to live your life, sometimes if it hits up against a piece of metal, a microscopic piece of metal, we have a moment where we kind of have to reroute that neurological component inside the brain. This can also happen if there's scar tissue in the brain from trauma. And so I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of trauma in my life, a lot of emotional things that have happened to me that has caused the brain to heat up and create scar tissue. Understand that anxiety from scar tissue in the brain and heavy metals, this is not permanent. These are things that you can change and heal. The brain is what we call plastic, meaning we can move and manipulate it, and we can heal it. A beautiful thing, but it does come down to cleaning up your diet and actually doing things that are going to pull heavy metals out of your body in order to heal anxiety and obsessive thoughts that are coming from the physical body. So understand that there's a big component there. And in order to heal that, things like celery juice, pure celery juice, go ahead and check out Anthony William Medical Medium's information. You can find his stuff on YouTube. You can find it on his blogs. He's got books. He's all over social media now. He's got a lot of great content, but do some research. I can't give you all the answers here because I'm trying to keep this this episode as condensed as possible. But he's the one to go to if you want to actually heal on a cellular, physical level. And it absolutely needs to happen in order for you to get clarity between what's going on in your body and with your soul intuition. And so doing things like celery juice, there's a heavy metal detox smoothie made with blueberries and a bunch of greens that are really beautiful. I've been on that smoothie for about 3 or 4 years now. I drink it almost every single day. And it's made a really big difference in my own healing my migraines, healing my emotions, healing so much of me, not only on a physical level, but when the physical body heals and the physical anxiety starts to reduce, suddenly you open up more spiritually. You actually are able to then, once you clear out the physical problem, you can now tap into more of the spiritual connection. And that's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So the more clear and healthy your physical body is, the easier it is for you to actually be more intuitive, more psychic, more connected, and manifest everything that you want faster. And so it's really important that you look at that component. In addition to that, when we look at NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and how the subconscious mind works, we can have beliefs that we hold on to from childhood in our unconscious, or even past life beliefs and assumptions that we made. And that can actually trigger repetitive thought patterns, obsessive thought patterns as well, that might trigger a feeling of anxiety. We actually memorize emotional patterns. If you look at Joe Dispenza's work, this is something that he does a lot. He talks about a ton in his books and in his seminars. And that's why he trains so much in meditation, is to train patterns out of your body. So we start to create patterns of anxiety. For me, it was patterns of emotional breakdowns, of constantly feeling like I was never enough for decades. And I would have these emotional breakdowns month after month, year after year, sometimes even week after week. It was like a weekly thing. But I had memorized being the victim. I had memorized in my body feeling panic and anxiety, never feeling good enough, putting all this pressure on myself. And every time you do that, it creates an emotional reaction in you. Your body actually releases stress hormones. And then your body gets in this pattern of, oh, it's been a week. It's time to release those stress patterns again. Oh, it's this time of day. It's time to release those stress hormones again. And your body actually memorizes. It gets on a loop of, this is how I live my life. And so anxiety can also be a memory of how you live your life. And it may seem like there's new things that you're having worry and fear and anxiety over, whether it's 1 month or to a month, or another year to a year. But what happens is, it's a hormonal, physical, biological pattern. And when that happens, because everything in our mind is on a loop, it is on a pattern. The human part of ourself works on automatic patterns in the brain and in the body. That becomes your normal. So if you're the type of person that feels anxiety most of the time, several days a week, or at least on a weekly basis, you have a pattern. Part of it could be from the heavy metals, and you need to do a little bit of detoxification for your physical body. But it can also be the mindset. It can be how you're thinking. It can be belief systems you're holding on to, and you don't even realize that they're belief systems that are actually creating the anxiety patterns. And so there's training the physical body out of anxiety is going to be an important thing for you to do. You actually have to train yourself to be more happy, to think more positively, to be more optimistic, to catch yourself when you start doing it again, when you start feeling depressed, when you start feeling anxious, when you start worrying, when you start doubting, when you start being hard on yourself, when you feel guilt and shame and all these things. You need to catch yourself in the moment when you're doing that, and slow down and breathe. Just put your hand on your heart, on your belly, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and focus on loving yourself unconditionally. You have to train yourself to stop these patterns, and it's going to happen through unconditional love, unconditional patience, and compassion for you, for the human pattern part of you. That's completely different than who you really are. Remember, your human mind, your human body is just a pattern. It's just a cellular structure, and it's working on a rhythm. And we have to train your body and your mind through good health protocol, through good mindset, to calm itself. This is up to you. It's not about taking a pill. It's not about the quick, easy way out, because that's just putting more gunk into your body. Most of those pills have heavy metals in them too. And so you're actually adding to the problem, and you're numbing yourself out instead of actually working on what's really going on. So that's the physical part of it. When we start to heal that part of us, it actually becomes so much easier then to tap into the soul part of you, the intuition part of you. And the reason for that is, when everything else is out of the way, you've healed a lot of the traumas, you've healed your biological patterns, you're eating healthier, you're cleaner, you're meditating, you're able to calm and quiet your mind because you've started to heal some of the anxiety patterns. Suddenly now there's space. There's space, right? There's space for you to emotionally, energetically, and mentally tap into your soul a little bit easier. Your soul's always there. It never goes anywhere. Through micro trauma, sometimes we do have like some soul disassociation. And so doing soul retrieval work can be really helpful, especially when you call in your angels to bring the pieces of your soul back to your human body and reintegrate everything. But understand that your soul is always there communicating with you. It's just that when you're hyperfixated on obsessive compulsive thoughts, anxiety thoughts, you can't quiet your mind, you're scrolling through social media, you're always in this impulsive energy, there's just too much going on. There's too much noise, right? There's too much chaos. There's too much happening that it makes it very difficult for you to see, feel, and hear your intuition. Intuition comes in a variety of ways, and this is something I teach. I teach about all the different clair senses because clair senses are how we receive intuition. Some people explain intuition as an expansive, light feeling, which it can be, but it's so much more than that. It's your soul speaking to you through all of your senses, and there are certain senses for each individual that are stronger than others. You can develop all of these, and I teach that in a lot of my other videos and podcast episodes, so be sure to go back and search all of that. I teach that in my online courses as well. I go deep into intuition work, deep into psychic and channeling work so that you can manifest faster more of what you want. But with that said, that is what the really big difference is between the two. One is coming from the soul and one is coming from the body when we have these warnings that flare up in us and we're kind of confused about where it is. So I want you to just take a moment to check in with yourself and ask yourself, do I have anxiety patterns? Do I have anxiety frequently? And if you do, if this is an ongoing pattern for you, then it's most likely not your intuition coming through. It's probably not an intuitive warning. Maybe every once in a while it might be, but mostly if this is a common pattern for you, you need to heal your physical body and you need to heal your mental body and the emotional body. Physical, mental, emotional. So the physical is the dietary protocols, taking care of your physical body, getting enough sleep, getting sunshine, getting some grounding, doing the heavy metal detox smoothie, doing the celery juice, and just generally eating really clean, because food can create anxiety. If you're eating a lot of processed food, if you're eating high content of sugar, I'm not talking about fruit, I'm talking about processed table sugar. If you're eating gluten, if you're eating dairy, if you're eating eggs, those things are actually going to cause anxiety in your body. It's going to cause certain hormones to be released and you're going to feel more anxious. If you ever wonder why after Thanksgiving and Christmas and the holidays you feel so shitty, it's not just because you're around people that you don't want to be around, you don't want to see all the time. It is because of the food too. All of that heavy food, high fat diets, it all contributes to your emotional state and can cause depression, it can cause anxiety. So when you clean up your diet and your physical body, you're going to be more clear. The emotional body is catching how you feel emotionally throughout the day and training yourself to feel calmer, to feel happier, to love yourself, to have patience for yourself. And then the mental part of it is catching your mind, noticing when you're saying negative things in your mind, when you're worrying, when you're fearful, when you're hard on yourselves, knowing, to be able to really see and feel when you have limiting beliefs and patterns that are actually holding you back and causing more problems than good, and then changing those. So clearing out those three parts are going to help heal the anxiety. Then you can open up more intuitively for all the wonderful things that you're able to receive through your intuition. The way intuition and anxiety can show up as a warning in your body may feel very similar. They can actually both come in instantaneously and they can be fleeting instantaneously. They can come in very strong or they can come in lightly. It really just depends on what your baseline is. Someone who is in a constant state of anxiety, someone who struggles with anxiety, struggles with obsessive compulsive thoughts, even depression, for you may have an intuitive thought come in, but then you may ruminate over it. You might actually think about it a lot and think about it so much that it actually creates more anxiety. It can actually trigger anxiety. Whereas someone who is fairly clear, someone who's done a lot of inner work, someone who is a lot calmer, more positive, and a good calm state the majority of the time, like that's their normal baseline, it's going to be much easier for them to read whether it's an intuitive nudge coming through or an anxiety nudge coming through. Intuitive nudges for someone who's actually fairly calm or neutral, it's going to feel a lot lighter. It's not going to feel as intense. It may just come in through it as a knowing, like, I get this sense and I don't know where it's coming from. It feels like something coming from outside of you. So intuition is always going to feel like something external versus something internally, right? Internally meaning you have a fear or something that's being triggered. It triggers a thought, it triggers an emotion that's from your past or something you've seen or something that you believe. And it's going to trigger more worry and fear. Whereas intuition often just comes in and you feel it and you notice it and you think about it for a second and then it just floats out. And so intuition is more of just a message breezing its way through versus something that feels really intense. Often intuition is not going to feel big, scary, and intense. Every once in a while, it can if it's a warning that's been coming in over and over for you and you haven't been listening to it. If it's something that you keep doing the same pattern over and over again. Maybe there's a self-sabotaging pattern that you have and you have not healed that self-sabotaging pattern. Month after month, a couple times a year or every week, you keep doing the same thing over and over again that you know you shouldn't be doing because it doesn't feel good to you. It's out of alignment. It's not in integrity with who you really want to be. Eventually, your intuition is going to come in stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's going to be more intense. The consequences are actually going to be a little more severe mentally, emotionally, physically, or even in your physical reality with the situations that you're going to come up with. And so it's really important that you pay attention when these subtle intuitive nudges come through, because when you can catch the intuitive piece of information and actually apply it to your life right away, very quickly, well, now you've just moved forward a little bit faster instead of pushing it off, ignoring it. Months go by and you could have learned that lesson 6 months ago or 3 years ago, but you just kept ignoring it. You could have just moved through it and moved on to the next stage in your life, the next thing that you want to manifest, but instead you've been pressing it away. And so this is where intuition can be really powerful. If you learn your lessons quickly and if you're paying attention, your intuition will get you to where you want to be faster. But you have to build a relationship with your intuition. You have to build a relationship with your soul self, because the ingrained patterns of the human mind and the human body are very strong. They are very powerful. So the more you can train your mind and body to be in alignment with your soul, with all of the qualities that your soul embodies, well, now there's no resistance. Now there's very little resistance for your soul to come in and give you intuitive information, and you just do it because you've built that relationship. You've trained your mind, you've trained your body to be in alignment. And then it just makes it so easy for the psychic and intuitive information to come through. And so that's where really the power is. And that's what I teach. That's what I teach in my online courses. That's what I teach with my students, is how to get to that place where your physical body and your physical mind is no longer resisting you to the same extent as it has before. And when all of that lines up, things just flow. Intuition flows in. You'll know when something is a warning. It'll come in very soft, very easy, or it might have a little bit more of an intense energy, but it's not necessarily going to trigger any of the anxiety patterns because you don't have those anxiety patterns anymore. If you are someone who does have anxiety patterns, it may come in the same way, but then because your body is so used to being hyperactive, your nervous system and your mind is so used to being hyperactive because you haven't done the work yet to heal the mind, body, and the emotions, then that intuitive nudge may come in, but then you might percolate on it. You might actually create a new anxiety pattern from this piece of intuition. But most often, there's going to be patterns of anxiety that come through based off of your belief systems, based off of your personal fears, not because it's intuition coming through, but just because you're thinking negatively, just because you're fearful, just because you've had past traumas and you're in the physical pattern of being in fear, of feeling like a victim, of feeling like you need to be scared, of feeling like you need to protect yourself all the time. And those patterns are actually going to hinder your ability to pay attention to your intuition. And you might actually hold yourself back from a lot of things too. So that's how we can kind of see the difference between the two. Intuition tends to be light, it comes through quickly, it moves all the way through. Anxiety is going to be something that just is on a loop. It's a repetitive pattern. It's a lot of logical thinking. So anxiety is very logical. It's very analytical, whereas intuition is often not. It is not usually very logical. It just kind of comes through as a message. Sometimes you may understand once you hit higher levels of understanding in your spirituality, you'll be able to connect the dots very quickly. An intuitive nudge or warning will come in and you'll know why. you'll have a very quick understanding of, oh, yeah, that energy didn't feel right with that person. I shouldn't be spending more time with them. Or, oh, yeah, something felt funky with this job application and the interview. I understand now why I wasn't meant to be there. You may not know logically, but you'll know on an energetic, emotional, vibrational, psychic level that, hey, that just wasn't the right opportunity. Whereas someone who has anxiety, they may not get that message. They may be so fixated on, oh, why didn't I get that job? Oh my gosh, I'm such a horrible person. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. Why don't they want me? Why don't they like me? Do I not have enough experience? They're going to, right, come up with all these logical excuses. Logical, right? They're not necessarily truth. None of it is true. Understand, logic and analytical thinking isn't necessarily truth. They're just beliefs, beliefs that you think, but they don't necessarily mean they're based in any kind of truth. And so that's where the difference comes in. Intuition, light flows through you, will get more intense with time, but often not very intense in the beginning. Whereas anxiety, repetitive patterns, very logical, very analytical, kind of thinking in loops, a lot of rationalizing. Whereas intuition doesn't do that. Intuition just gives you a piece of information, floats on through. If you don't listen to it, it will get more intense with time. And so that's how we can kind of tell the difference in our body, whether it's coming from our soul or whether it's coming from a physical pattern, mental pattern, or emotional pattern that our human self is experiencing. Be sure to leave all of your comments and questions in the show notes below so that I can help guide you more with your own intuitive struggles, anything that's going on with anxiety, manifestation, all of that good stuff, because I am here to help you on your life's journey. If you want to learn more about mental health, I do have a previous episode that came out a few months ago on mental health, on how our mindset influences our intuition and all of our gut reactions. I also have a lot of episodes that go deep into each of the different clairsenses, how to really master your intuition. I go much deeper into that with my students in my online courses, so be sure to get on my email list to be notified when my course opens so that you can learn more about manifesting and intuition, but also check out all the other episodes that I have, right? Because I have a lot of free resources for you as well. I have some free PDFs on all the different intuitive clairsenses in my metaphysical manifestation free download library on my website at natalieschlute.com. So be sure to check that out. I am so excited to be guiding you on your journey. Let me know if you need help with anything else, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you love this content, be sure to binge watch all the playlists that I have on my YouTube channel. You can check out a few right here as well.